Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up Missoula. I'm your host, Scott Ramp. I hope you guys are having a lovely Wednesday, July 18th. Yes, I double-checked just before the show started. So let's kick things off with the weather. I got a bunch of news, I got Dubbin Stuff, and I got all that and more with some new programs here on MCAT. So let's kick things off with some weather. It is currently 64 degrees, not much colder. It got overnight, but it's going to get warmer and warmer today. Today expected to be the high of the week with a high of 87. Maybe you might even see some 90s. But there's going to be a breeze, so that might keep things a little cooler. Tonight, you're going to have a clear night with a low of 54. Thursday, you're going to have a high of 87 once again. And it looks like it's pretty much going to stay that way for the rest of the week. So if you guys are planning on being out and about this week, may be the week, because many fire specialists here in the state of Montana are concerned about the upcoming fire danger that's happening. So let's talk about some news. And like any news, it's always usually bad news. So fire season is upon us, and with a moderate fire danger that bans all permitted burns since July 4th in the county, crews are gearing up for potential risks. That being said, campfires are legal as long as they are surrounded by rocks or stones. They're not near any kind of brush or trees or anything like that. So the camp, and you must actually have like a gallon of water or something to extinguish the fire after the fact. And also make sure you use dry wood and not pine needles and some of the leaves that you can find on there, because they can create embers. And embers can travel for miles, for many, many miles, and usually most of the embers don't actually go out completely 12 hours after the fire has been extinguished. So fire danger is expected to reach high level later this week, and the Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation said local fire departments have already responded to several debris burns that got out of control, including one that burned almost 2 acres. According to the Missoulian, northern Montana areas are the highest risk with Canada provinces in the extreme fire danger, while many Montana regions are getting normal precipitation. The northern Montana area is in danger because Canada is at extreme dangers as of right now. So it just goes to show you that you can never be too sure if we'll get through a fire season without a fire. In state news, it's good to be a dog. Nowadays, and in Montana, being able to be indoors with your owner, it gets harder and harder, but nowadays, you can get a nice little haircut while your little furry friend is right there, right next to you. For dog lovers out there who don't like leaving their dogs in cars or tied up on bike racks, which is actually illegal, it also has been approved by the Montana Board of Barbers and Cosmetologists just this past Monday to continue to allow dogs and other animals in salons and barbershops. And of course, the ban was lifted back in 2001. Of course, they wanted to kind of bring it back. And it was brought back in 2001. And then, of course, just because you have a dog doesn't mean it doesn't pose any kind of health risks to like biting or incidents like that. So a lot of places that allowed their employees who are barbers and salon owners to bring their dogs still have to have some health coverage for future incidents. So that's one of the things that are going on here. But the new ban that they were suggesting was voted against with a majority. In international news, if the nightmare was over, now a movie based on the Thai cave rescue will be produced sometime in the future. If you don't already know what happened in Thailand, a class of Thai children went into a cave for a class trip right after soccer practice when rains came pouring down, only to trap the boys and their coach in the cave. But of course, it would take rescue workers 6 hours to dive down and only be able to return with 2 students at a time. So it was a 12-hour process to go down, grab 2 students, and come back up because they had limited resources and it was fairly small. The rescue was a success, and the students just recently got released from the hospital for minor injuries and some, I think it was hunger-related fatigue. So, but of course, tragedy did strike when one former Navy SEAL diver, Saman Gannon, was killed during the rescue. Of course, he has since been hailed as a hero who sacrificed himself for the boys' safety, and it was a issue with the in between the caves underwater when an incident happened. The details are not perfectly clear. I looked up a couple websites, but I didn't see anything. It seems like it's something to do with air tanks, but it was like in between the rescue. So you can look up more information if you go to npr.org. The boys aged 11 to 16 years of age were stuck down there in their cave for 2 weeks, and they survived on drinking some of the water runoff from the caves. Yeah, that's kind of it. What's happening in the news and around. I got some new programs that are happening over the next couple of days to keep you guys interested in what's going on here at MCAT. So, here, without further ado, here's a couple new programs, including our Time Travelers Camp.
Again, I think the most important thing to remember is that you can do this. Oftentimes we tell ourselves, ooh, somebody will be insulted if I ask them for money. Or they won't be my friend anymore if I ask them for money. I mean, I joke that people run when they see me on the street because they know they know I'm gonna ask them for something, for United Way, or for a project that my friends are involved in that I care about, or I'm on the Capital Campaign Committee, for example, for the ZAC, the Zootown Arts Community Center. And if I think it's a good match for their philanthropic interests, I'm going to ask them for a gift to that. But it takes practice, and we'll talk about that. But we have to get over telling ourselves that we can't be fundraisers. And nonprofits, I think, are a lot better now about laying out their expectations for prospective board members and not taking people on their boards that say, oh, I'll join your board, but I won't fundraise. So if you're a nonprofit leader, staff leader, don't ever take somebody on your board who says that. And if you're serving on a nonprofit board, don't go in with that expectation. It's part of your job.
Now, up and coming, you have another project that you're working on that's coming up because it's the 125th anniversary of the Daughters of American Revolution in Montana, correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Montana was actually very early on a state that started Daughters of the American Revolution. The very first chapter was formed in Butte, when Butte was a city of, call it 90,000, was a big hairy deal.
It was a cosmopolitan place.
Yes.
It really was.
Yes, very much so. And it was a time where if you had to get from place to place, it would take a couple days stagecoach ride with a stay overnight someplace.
Wow.
So.
Well, the city is continuing with their movement to sue Carlisle Group. Jesse Ramos, with the city of Missoula, a city council member, is not for the idea of this, and this is why he's not too keen on having another another court hearings and trial with Carlisle Group.
I mean, I have to admit that during committee meetings, I too was attracted to the allure, I guess, of 3% of a $10 billion company. $300 million is a lot of bucks, folks. So I'd like to equate it to, has anybody ever been to Vegas where they have like those big Hummers on top of the gambling machines, and that's how they really suck you in? Well, for me, this is kind of what the situation presents itself to me. There's a lot of risk, but there's potentially a lot of reward. To me, I'm not personally a gambler. Whenever my friends go to the casino, I'll put in a whole $1 into the slot machine, drink a couple of free pops, and cash out at $1.15. So you understand where I come from an area of frugality on this. So it seems to me that the city is assuming an awful lot of the risk, and the law firm in question with some of these legal fees that they still won't be able to release publicly until after this litigation is closed, stands to gain a lot from it. 30% of $300 million. You can all do the math on that. Quite a bit of money, and they don't have to take a lot of risk. Meanwhile, we have to pay for expert witnesses, and we have to pay back legal expenses, which, I mean, obviously aren't going to be huge in compared to the long run of things. I appreciated Councilwoman Armstrong's questions about this, kind of more pointedly, what happens if we get countersued, and I noticed that there wasn't a real argument to it except for the fact that we probably won't get countersued, but we also went into this litigation on the premise that it would probably cost $400,000, and it ended up costing about $10 million. So I struggle to think that the Carlyle Group would put up less of a fight for 3% of their net worth than they did for an $80 million asset. So when they're fighting over $300 million, I think that they'll put up even more of a fight.
All right, so that was Jesse Ramos talking a little bit about how he feels about the city moving forward on their countersuit to Carlyle Group for their bad faith agreement. So here's some background. The one thing I took away from this last committee of the whole meeting is that our reps Harry Schneider and Tasha Jones, with the lawyers that are representing the city of Missoula with the water condemnation case, were confident in moving forward, even more so because Carlyle Group wanted to settle outside of court even before any court case can move forward. So, of course, for those of you who don't know that the city wants to sue Carlyle for their bad faith agreement, once again, that Carlyle would sell to Missoula if they were on the market, but they didn't. They didn't even let Missoula make an offer. They didn't even give a price or anything like that. They just kind of tried to do it behind Missoula's back, which violated the bad faith agreement between the city of Missoula and the Carlyle Group. And, of course, that was kind of revealed throughout the water condemnation hearing and trial when the city won that hearing. The Carlyle Group tried to move to the Montana Supreme Court, which we had a quote from a retired Supreme Court justice member saying that, talking about Robert Dove, who is the executor of the Carlyle Group, saying that it was pretty clear that it was bad faith. Okay, so Jordan Hess, he responds to Jesse Ramos's comments about this court case, and he is confident that moving forward is the right thing to do.
Having sat through the entirety of the Mountain Water litigation and Carlyle litigation, it is my firm belief that the city has a very strong case here. It's my firm belief that that the citizens of Missoula and the ratepayers of the water system were wronged by the behavior of the former owner, and that this action is the only way to get recourse. It's also my belief that the administration and the law firms that we're working with have done their due diligence. This has been a topic of discussion among the attorneys we retain for the better part of 3 years, more than 3 years, and I have strong confidence moving forward, and I believe that we've done the best we can to minimize risk by signing a fee agreement that's on a contingent basis. I also believe that we've done the best that we can to minimize our discovery costs by all of the discovery we've done to this point. So appreciate the concerns, but respectfully disagree.
All right, so that was Jordan Hess from the City Council talking about how he feels about this court case moving forward. Here's Heather Harp also reflecting about being for this.
And I know it is, it's not an easy decision, and I know you have to weigh the risks that are associated with such a direction. But when you think about the opportunity that the folks at Carlyle had to do things right for our Missoulian community, and they did not, I don't know who else is supposed to stand up for us. Right? So with that, I think I want to thank you all for moving forward last week while I was absent and moving in that right positive direction.
All right. So unanimously, the city is all for this, and they wanted to move forward about getting on with this court case and seeing how far they can go. So this is going to be a $300 million basic lawsuit against Carlyle Group for bad faith, which is only about 3% of their net worth. Okay, so anyways, of course, the meeting was talking about putting a new open space bond on the ballot, but this is mostly one of the things that I want to make clear that the city wants to kind of move this forward, but they also want the people of Missoula to see how they feel about this ballot and want to see about moving forward. But this whole ballot would raise $500,000 annually to help maintain the stewardship of open space, buying new open space, and also stewarding the open space that we already have. Jesse Ramos believes that the money from the park department that has jumped up should not ask for any more money. He says that the Parks Department has enough money and they don't need any more money to maintain the sites that the Missoula already has.
I'm concerned again with the park special assessment. Again, 2010, it was $200,000. 2017, it was almost $1.6 million. And Dr. Barty said that it was better for the city to bring an additional $500,000 to a vote as opposed to just implementing it with no vote to the citizens of Missoula, which I definitely agree with that. But what about the $1.5 million already that we didn't ask the voters for approval for? We've asked for $500,000 3 times in the past 8 years, and I think that it's up to us as the stewards of the taxpayer dollars to say, okay, when is enough enough? Where's the $1.5 million being spent? And Mr. Von Lossberg disagreed with me, and I'll respectfully disagree with him where he said that $200,000 to $1.5 million in 8 years was not egregious. To me, that is egregious. I don't know anybody here whose salary has increased from $200,000 to $1.5 million over the course of 8 years, multiplied by nearly 8 times. Nobody's wages are rising like that. I don't think we have 8 times as many parks right now as we did in 2010. So I think, and again, this is something that only came up when I brought it up, and I think that's something that we should address more as a council. Like, if this is passed, can we reduce that park special assessment by $500,000? And another thing that came up in committee, or maybe it came up before and I didn't notice it before, was that this $500,000 bond isn't just for maintenance of open space. In fact, it can actually be used for acquisition of key new properties. So in a sense, it is an infinite open space bond up to $500,000 a year. And what happens if we're not responsible with it and we buy even more open space, and then, oh, wait, we don't have enough money for maintenance, and then we have to pass another bond, and the park special assessment, meanwhile, has gone up to $2 or $3 or $4 million over the next 8 years. So I just kind of would like some reassurances that if this is passed, that we're not going to continue to raise the park special assessment. And 2, if we do acquire land with it, we have to justify how we're going to pay for the maintenance of that. Because if we're using the maintenance fund to buy new land that doesn't have a maintenance fund, how are we going to justify that? So those are just some concerns I would like to see addressed.
All right, so that was Jesse Ramos, once again, voices his concern about this new open space measure. Julian Armstrong says that the Parks and Rec are struggling to keep up with the open space, and saying that this would really help with maintaining the stewardship and future of parks and open space.
This bond is not as broad as you think it is. It has a very narrow focus and is very specifically addressing the deficit we have for maintenance, the backlog of maintenance. And it's very important that we maintain the things that we use. This is not a huge bond. It is important. That being said, it wasn't the bond I wanted to see first. I wanted to see an affordable housing bond, and I hope that's coming, and I hope everybody will support that when it does come down the pipe. But this is something we've desperately needed, and we're planning for the future, and I hope everybody supports it.
All right, so that was Julie Armstrong. I have another quote I'm just going to go right to, and that is Brian Von Lossberg, who talks about this levy a little bit more.
Responsible set of questions to put to the voters, and that's really, I think, important to understand that We don't have the power on council to just levy this. This is a question that we put to the voters, much like the county commissioners are putting the question of the open space general obligation bond to the voters. But what we do have an opportunity to do is to carefully debate and figure out what would be a responsible set of questions, and there's a whole in terms of amounts and what they would be used for. And honestly, there's been probably 2 years at least of discourse, and it's really good community discourse about this question and about the specific amounts, the $15 million bond and then the $500,000 levy. Again, I think these are responsible questions. We can do good work with this in the city. And on that last point about context, I think it's important to understand, because we have passed some very large bond measures in this community, and there's also been substantial appreciation in property owners' properties over the last several years. I was up, camping at Lake Mary Renan State Park a couple weekends ago, and the total cost of the mill levy and the bond, if they were both to pass, is less than the 2 nights reservation fee for staying at a state park for 2 nights. And I think that context is important, and I support putting this question to the voters.
All right, so this question for this new open bond ballot measures will be part of the city-county bond. So whether you live in the city or the county, you'll get a vote on this open space for the Missoula to acquire new open land space and continue the stewardship that Missoula's been doing. And this is an update to the open space bond. So a little bit of more information as well. This most likely would go on the ballot. The city voted to approve this to go into the ballot. Jesse voted against it. But it's up to you this November season to vote on this. But of course, now I'm going to take myself out of it, because I personally am kind of divided, because it's responsible to think about the people in Missoula who are on a fixed income, and I do share that with Jesse Ramos, who basically is talking about the representatives who voted against a lot of the big bonds that passed over the years. The biggest notable difference is that a lot of the bonds that did get passed for the Parks and Rec, Fort Missoula Regional Park bond, the $38 million bond for that one, was necessarily fairly narrow. It was like a 57 to about 43, maybe about the 2% interval right there. And that was one of the things that Jesse was concerned about the other chunk of the city of Missoula, I mean the whole city county of Missoula in terms of that. So that's just something to really think about. But of course, I also want to say, on the other hand, we also want to make sure we protect Missoula's natural resources for future generations that should not be used irresponsibly. So of course, once again, to watch this whole meeting and all meetings, you can go to ci.missoula.mt.us. It's a nice website. You can find out everything that's happening in the city. There's a lot of upcoming meetings today. There's a lot of committee meetings happening today for your Wednesday, July 18th. So they'll be happening from basically around now until the afternoon. So you can check all that by going to ci.missoula.mt.us. And you can also go to wakeupmissoula.wixsite.com/wakeupmissoula to find out more information about me. Hey, you want to know more about me? You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. All you got to do is look up Wake Up Missoula. But also, if you're interested in finding out programs and more, but also watching some city council as well, if you can't see it on the city's website, you can always go to the MCAT website. MCAT, everything that MCAT does, shoots, and everything that I show you on my show is through MCAT, Missoula Community Access Television, your Missoula's community media resources. And if you are interested in being a part of MCAT, we do orientation every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. We do equipment checkout, which include cameras, light kits, and studio time here at MCAT. So of course, I'm in a studio here at MCAT. You can check us out. Our open hours will begin again July 31st through August 3rd. Those are the kind of the kickoff for back to our normal hours. So we'll be open up pretty much from noon to about 7 p.m. We have some Boys and Girls Club. We have the Boys and Girls Club happening from 10 a.m. to 12 throughout the month of August as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the August month. Friday also is my last show for the month, because next week we're doing a zombie camp. And zombie camp takes place from 9 a.m. to about 5 p.m. So pretty much all that week I'm going to be devoted to making zombie movies. So Okay, I have a special video for you guys, and it is a brand new Dubbin Stuff from the movie The Ape, Boris Karloff.
Oh, why did I eat that last enchilada? Oh.
Oh, you get out of here! You get out of here! Go
I'm
shoot!
going.
Get out of here, Weird! Oh, can't go any faster.
Did you just hear that? Sounds like a wheelchair. Come on board, let's get him. Oh, I look silly. Hold on there a second.
Please, I gotta check it out.
It's not safe. You can't go. You might want to stand back. I had too many enchiladas. All right, men. Let's take it nice and slow. Wait a minute. This isn't some kind of beast. It's
What's
a
going
mess.
on? It's some kind of beast. Not in my backyard.
Well, it's a man. Oh,
rats.
$50 down the drain.
Excuse me, sorry. Excuse me. Out of my way. Excuse me. I gotta check it out. Make a path. What? What is this?
She can walk. Oh man, well, they got the suit off me pretty quickly. Sup, girl? You must be wondering why I was wearing that ape suit. Well, I'm a furry. Well, I was hoping you wouldn't find out this way, but I gotta be true to myself, even though it's like the Forties, which, you know, you're not allowed to be true to yourself, and, yeah, it's just, well, unless you're into that kind of thing. Don't just look at me. You just answer me, okay? Don't give me those eyes. Say something.
He's dead. I should have just said something.
Hey, what's going on, Missoula? Let's talk about what's happening here in the city of Missoula, in and around, via MissoulaEvents.net. All this information that I'm about to throw at you is from the wonderful website, MissoulaEvents.net. If you're ever wondering what's happening in the city of Missoula, you can look up all those wonderful events at MissoulaEvents.net, and I'll show you the website after I get through this. So, indoor fun with gymnastics at Roots Missoula Indoor Sports Center and Mismo Gymnastics, all starting this morning now until about noon. Some of them have those day camps that go all the way until 3 or 4 in the afternoon, so you can check them out. All you got to do is go check out their websites online. Empower Place Tiny Tales is going to be at Empower Place at the Missoula Food Bank, and that happens from 10:30 to about noon. And this is a good way for kids to get invested with reading, but also maybe learn to cook a little bit. There's also happening, they're doing a cooking class at the Missoula Food Bank, and I'll talk about that event in a bit. So, Frenchtown Branch Storytime, they sponsored by Missoula Public Library. You go to Frenchtown and you expose kids to books, and kids get invested in reading with pictures, words, and just kind of figuring out how to read. It's a good way to get them introduced into reading. Spectrum Discovery Center is doing chemistry. They got a bunch of camps happening today as well. They'll be visiting us here at MCAT this morning around 10 a.m., so basically right after my morning show that's live. But if you're seeing this afternoon, then don't worry about it. Out to Lunch starts at 11. It goes from 11 to 2 p.m. and they have Salsa Loca, which is a Latin jazz band. It's going to be fun music. Leon Slater is on trumpet, and I don't know anyone else in that band because Leon Slater was my band director in high school. Kids stay about the library at 11:30 p.m. a.m. Why did I say p.m.? So anyways, 11:30 this just before noon. I don't know. It's still considered morning at 11:30. I don't care. Anyways, free lunch for any kids who are 18 and under, sponsored by the Missoula Food Bank. And the more kids eat, the more food and more sponsors and more money that the Missoula Food Bank gets. So by actually eating at Kids Table, you help support the Missoula Food Bank. Escape Room fundraiser for Natalie Lynn. Big Sky Breakout over at the north side next to the ZAC, Zootown Arts Community Center, is doing a Big Sky Breakout fundraiser from 12 noon to about 9 p.m. To support a good cause. 75% of all proceeds go to Natalie Lynn. Natalie Lynn finished her senior year as a graphic design illustrator in fine arts, plus stop by for snacks, beverages, live music, and great silent auctions from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Scrabble and Bridge is happening around noon today as well at the Missoula Senior Center. Hey, play a couple card games. Wednesday, summer movie matinee at the Big Sky Branch. Big Sky High School hosts a Wednesday matinee, usually every Wednesday. They're doing Early Man, and that's going to be at the Big Sky High School library, so you can check it out. It's right next to Fort Missoula. Middle school writers at the Missoula Public Library. So if you're interested in improving your writing skills as you get into high school, or maybe you just want to improve your writing skills in general, they have some chocolate and some fun things to talk about, and they give some constructive criticism for your writing skills. You know, anything that can help improve your child's writing is always a good step in moving forward, because my writing skills are terrible, and I should have done a little more classes with that as well. So this happens at 3:30 to about 5. There's the Carvey demonstration in the Makerspace at the Missoula Public Library. Learn how you can make simple ornaments, signs, and other cool things during this workshop that features demonstration of Carvey, a desktop carving machine that can carve designs and text into a variety of materials. So space is limited to 6 participants, so you should check it out. You can go to MissoulaPublicLibrary.org for more information. CBD oil sampling education. Hey, CBD, it's all about that hemp oil. So they'll be doing a hemp oil demonstration to talk about with people with pain, anxiety, depression, movement disorders, and so much more. And they'll have samples available, and this will be at the Noodle Express at 7 p.m. tonight. Missoula's Homegrown Comedy is happening at the Roxy tonight at 7:30 p.m. Hey, you want to have a good laugh? Roxy Theater hosts a comedy night at 7:30 p.m. You can actually apply online to their Facebook page. All you got to do is look up Homegrown Comedy, and you can sign up to do some stand-up. And also, I just want to mention a nice little shout out to the Missoula City Band. Gary Gillette hosts a bunch of community members who come together to play in the Missoula City Band every Wednesday. Practices are every Monday at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Performances are at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And it's a good way to improve your musical skills and especially sight reading for sure. And this week, tonight at 8 p.m., it's the tribute to Bob Hope. So if you're interested in other things happening tonight as well, Tom Catmull, father of Jack, who works here, is doing a country music rock concert at the VFW tonight at 8:30. Trivia at the Press Box, trivia at Silver Slipper, rocking karaoke at the Dark Horse, Craptastic karaoke at the Badlander. All right, so here is an art clip for you guys, and this is the last week I'll be playing this art clip because the art ends next Friday on the 28th. So here is this, and when I come back, I'm going to talk all about Thursday events. So stay with me. Hey guys, welcome back. Let's talk about some Thursday events. Kicking off your Thursday at the Paradise Center, I believe that's in Sanders County, all from Thursday, July 19th through the 21st. Artists, come see some Sanders County artists and see their work created in a variety of art mediums and styles. They also have a Glacier Lake, Missoula interactive display, and that's happening at the Paradise Center in Sanders County. Tiny Tales is at Missoula Public Library, and that's about reading. I already talked about it for Wednesday events. Tiny Tales is ongoing at the Missoula Public Library. It's great. Trop and Crafts at Big Sky Branch. If you don't want to go see a movie this afternoon, tomorrow at noon, you can do some arts and crafts. So Monday through Tuesday, it's from 2 to 6 p.m. Wednesday through Thursday, it's 12 to 4 p.m. So those are some great ways to do some arts and crafts at the Big Sky Branch. It's kind of like a make it and take it kind of thing. So you can show up and do it whenever. Computer electronics in the Makerspace, Missoula Public Library from 3 to 6 p.m. Makerspace is a good way to create and make things. They have a 3D printer. They have that wood carving tool. There's no workshops. This is just kind of like an open space. So if you already kind of have an idea of how these work, you guys can do it. Lego Club, Missoula Public Library, 3:30 p.m. Tomorrow afternoon. And it's a good way to get involved with Legos. Speaking of Legos, all this week, kids have been working with Lego stop animation all week long. Fun with Philo, Missoula Food Bank and Community Center. They are doing a food, kind of like a food workshop at the Missoula Food Bank. And this is explore the delicious art of making baklava and how to use phyllo dough for appetizers and treats. And this is happening tomorrow from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Missoula Food Bank and Community Center. Downtown tonight is at Karis Park. As of Out to Lunch is this afternoon. Thursday is the dinner evening equivalent of Out to Lunch, and they're doing Russ Nassett and the Revelators. It's going to be country, rock, and roots. So it's a fun, free event to attend. The only thing that you have to pay for is the food. Humphrey Fellowship Community Dialogue Series. Jeanette Rankin Peace Center hosts the English Language Institute and Jeanette Rankin Peace Center for the third installment of the Humphrey Fellow Community Dialogue. This week, fellows will discuss their home countries, Myanmar, Togo, and Nepal, and their work in public health and policy, followed by a community discussion. But if you're interested in going out later Thursday night, they got What Does Not Return by Tammy Helland at Shakespeare & Company starting at 7 p.m. Sacred Shimmy is going to be at Downtown Dance Collective. MTFF presents Beast, which is going to be at the Roxy. Pro DJ Finals is going to be the Sunrise Saloon. So, wow. So if you're in a DJ spinning contest, I guess they're going to be doing that at the Sunrise Saloon on Thursday night. Who knew that? Bob Schneider is going to be at the Top Hat Lounge. It's going to be some folk rock music tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Rocking karaoke at the Dark Horse. So you got a lot of stuff happening in around the city of Missoula. But of course, you can find out more events about that and more by going to MissoulaEvents.net. MissoulaEvents.net. Hey, what's going on in Missoula? Well, just look at this website and leave me alone. MissoulaEvents.net is the perfect place to find everything Missoula. Whew, I think that's about it for me this morning. I got to get the studio prepped for some kids to come rushing through here. So thank you guys for joining me, and for Wake Up Missoula, I'm Scott Ramf.